Coach, what's impressed you most about Aaron Beasley through the first 2 weeks of the season?
I think it's a continuation for the way he ended the season. I think I've said this several times. When you go back and watch the tape of last year, he was the most consistent linebacker that we had, whether he came off the bench or started. And I think that, the confidence that he built off of last year carried over through the spring and the summer, and he's playing the way we expect him to.
Jeremiah Telander got a lot of run in the second half Saturday. When you went back and watched the film, what did he do well, and where does he still going to continue to improve?
Jeremiah, like we talked about, earlier, he's a max effort. He's going to run through a wall, plays with a lot of intensity, and he brought that to the table in the limited reps that he had. I think he hit the ball 5 times in the second half. Just little things. As far as being in the right place and pass coverage, he really could have helped us on the one long pass on 3rd down that they completed into the boundary. But all in all, we were impressed with his effort, which is what you expect from him. But he hit the ball. He tried to play fast and physical, which is, a calling card for him. So he got his first college game out the way, and I think the best is yet to come.
Coach, one of the topics of fall camp was how improved your depth was at the linebacker position, and then after week 1 it gets tested immediately. How would you say about the response of Elijah and Arion moving into bigger roles?
Those are young, talented players. We rotate a lot, so they get the practice reps. We hope that because of the way that we rotate, those guys are ready to step in, because you never know what's going to happen. But Elijah, I felt like, was ready to step up. Keenan went through about half a spring, so he was able to get a bunch of first-team reps in the spring. And, we always coach them to say, you're one play away from being the starter or going from a third-teamer to a second-teamer. And, that mentality really came out last week. I thought Elijah did a great job. I mean, he got two wicked shots early in the first quarter. I didn't know how he would bounce back from, and he came back, and, I thought he played very, very well. And Arion is, as a freshman, the maturity, like we've talked about before, is, that of a junior or senior. He's gotten better every week. But obviously the stakes are a little higher this week with his first SEC game, so we expect him to keep progressing. But the plays that he does make when he's out there are very, very good. We just have to eliminate the mistakes.
Brian, kind of following up on Elijah, how did he do communication-wise, and how much responsibility does he have to make sure the defense is all on the same page?
That's the Mike's linebacker's responsibility, is to be the take charge guy. Obviously, having a veteran like Aaron Beasley there really, really helps him. I thought the communication was good. Probably never great, especially with some of the, how can I put it, different formations that Austin Peay lined up in. They really test your communication and your ability to get lined up from the front end to the back end. But I thought he did a good job. Obviously, it could have been better, but for the most part, it didn't hurt us. But we really want him to be a lot more vocal, this week, and make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, with those young guys again, did anything surprise or impress you about what they were able to do and how quickly they were able to jump in to help the group?
No, it would take a lot to surprise me. My expectations are high, and I always tell them I want their expectations to be higher than mine. If they don't go into a game ready to play 75 snaps and start and go out there and compete at a high level, I'd be highly disappointed. The only surprise I would say is how physical they're going to be. I would say that. We always say it. You can't really practice it during the week. We were a couple weeks removed from, our last scrimmage, so some of those guys didn't get a lot of reps versus Virginia. I thought for the most part those guys really tried to play physical, because I think the speed and the intensity part and the assignment part, I really expect them to be, as ready as a starter would be. But then the physicality of it, you want to make sure that they match it or can exceed what your expectation, would be, and I thought they did a good job there.
Give us a breakdown on what you see from Florida's offense.
Florida, very, very talented. You know, we always start with the quarterback. I think Graham Mertz. I had a chance to see him when I was in the last job I was at, and I know he's a super talented kid. You know, really good arm, really good pocket presence. I know he was highly recruited kid coming out of high school. Shows the poise and, you know, shows the pocket presence of a big-time quarterback. We're going to have to do a great job with him. And, you know, the thing that I think he's done, you know, in the first 2 games, he's shown the ability to pick up yards with his legs, which I know he's not known for. So that adds an extra element to him. And then obviously the best backfield we would have seen to this point in the Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne. I think those guys are really the guys that make their offense go. We have to do a great job, you know, stopping the run and controlling those guys. They're 2 very talented running backs that I think their offense feeds off of. And then, you know, wideout-wise, I think Ricky Pearsall is one of the best, you know, wideouts in the SEC right now. He does it all for him. You line him up all over the field. He makes the tough catches and the tough plays. We're going to have to know where he is, you know, on every play. But a very well coached team, big physical offensive line. They, you know, do a lot of things to, you know, create mismatches with their scheme. We're going to have to do a great job. You mentioned communication. You mentioned being assignment sound. We're going to have to do a great job this week.
Brian, you mentioned Elijah played well on Saturday after taking those 2 hits. As he gets into this Florida game against an offense that wants to run the football, what's going to be key for him to taking the next step and be successful?
It's going to be reading his keys, putting his eyes in the right place. The big thing, you know, with their run game, they have a lot of, you know, movement on their offense, and that could lead, especially an inexperienced linebacker, to put his eyes in the wrong spot. We got to make sure he's, you know, obviously in tune to what we're doing on defense and make sure we keep our run gap integrity with all the things that they do. If he does that, I know he'll be fine.
I know you like to have a deep rotation, but obviously you've got 2 freshmen in that rotation. Is there a great temptation just to say we're going to go with 2 guys and just stick with two guys the whole game?
The great part about our system is the guys that practice the right way, they're going to play. You know, we're not going to rotate just to put a body in there. If I ever put a guy in there and I don't think he could help us win the game, then that's shame on me. Those guys earn their right to go practice. I mean, they earn their right through practice to go out there in the game. And when they're out there, kind of like I said earlier, we look at them as starters. If they don't practice the right way that week and they haven't been playing at a high level, they're not going to play. The rotation starts because we feel like we have 4 or 5 guys that practice at a high level and can be starters. We don't expect a drop-off when we put guys in the game. And if we did, I'd be doing everybody a disservice, and I wouldn't do that.
Against Austin Peay, it looked like there was occasional times where the offense, there were some breakdowns, and whether it was the quarterback scramble on a 4th down or just being able to pound the ball on the ground. What did you see in film from that game, and how are you addressing that, getting ready for a run-heavy Florida team?
The quarterback, you know, got out on us a couple times, and it was misfits, kind of what we said. We had, you know, 2 guys in the same gap, didn't get, you know, our leverage on a couple plays with eyes in the wrong spot. They were all correctable mistakes that we wouldn't expect to make, and, you know, they were able to take advantage of it a couple of times, you know, a couple of times on the 4th downs with the quarterback. But, you know, we feel like we got it corrected. You know, I would expect to see something similar that, like what Austin Peay did this week. So we made our corrections, and everybody on the field kind of understood where the mistakes were, so we feel like we can move on from them. But they did get us a couple times with leverage, but it wasn't because of the call. It was because we had guys a couple times that didn't have their eyes in the right spot or, you know, kind of fit in the wrong gap.
Coach, I know it's only been a week since Keenan's injury, but how involved has he been with the room, and just what's his communication been like with the younger guys?
Very. You know, one of the things that he always brought to the table was that leadership aspect. You know, once he was cleared to come back, he's been in every meeting. You know, obviously he traveled with us. He's going to travel with us down to Gainesville. He's an integral part of what we do. It wasn't just the physical ability. It was his mental capacity to help everybody in the room because of his experience, and that's just carrying over and probably holds a little bit more weight in the room now because he's seeing it, you know, from the sideline. So most of those guys, when they're in the room, they'll gravitate to him. And even now, you know, during practice, he's on the sideline. When, you know, the guys that are not in, they're down there talking to him and Pat Garland. And they're like, those guys are like second coaches on the field now.
Kind of on the flip side of that, is there any part of Elijah Herring's game that you feel really reflects what Keenan has showed in practice and kind of shows that he's been learning from him as a younger guy?
Yes. You know, they're both bigger, stronger guys. You know, they're both 230-pound plus, you know, linebackers. So you expect the physicality that Keenan brought. You know, obviously Keenan was a little bit more seasoned because obviously he had played a lot more football. Elijah's still learning, you know, per se, but there is some similarities in their game. You just see the inexperience at time with Elijah, but that's gotten so much better. I think getting that first start out the way, he's going to be even better this week. Thank you, Coach. All right, thank you.